If you're struggling to decide what character to pick for the 2.4 event going on in-game right now, worry no more, because I'm going to break down all the characters from the quote-unquote strongest character that bring the most to your team to the weakest character that bring the least to the team. Yo, what's going on guys, it's Mookie, and in today's video, I'm going to be bringing you guys a tier list showing you the best options to pick for the characters in Genshin Impact's current event. Quick disclaimer, this list will be following the current meta, however I myself don't really follow that meta 100%, and I'll be giving advice for those of you like me who just love a character so much that you just straight up want to build them and have fun, just ignore the meta. Jumping right into the list, we're going to start in our D category, which is the no, just straight up no, and we're going to be tossing in Xinyan into this list. If I'm butchering any of the pronunciations, I'm super sorry. This is just how I learned them, so bear with me here. In terms of this character, you can straight up just skip this one. And to be honest, if you're new to the game, this character will really not do much for you. She's a support claymore user, and honestly her kit just feels odd to use and honestly just out of place. And doesn't provide much like the others do, so for now, it's an easy skip in my opinion. Moving up to the C category, and that's going to be if you don't have them and want to complete the collection. It breaks my heart to say, but I'm going to put Changyan into this list. Now hear me out. When I first started playing, Changyan was very good and was very fun to play, and honestly, I still use him on a regular basis as I like to play and have fun, and I still love his kit, but in terms of the meta and a strong choice, he unfortunately is not one of them, for right now at least. However, if you're looking to main him, because honestly, like I said, just play however and whoever you like, because it's your account at the end of the day, then his C1 and C6 are the most notable constellations to go for, but all of his constellations are honestly an improvement. It's just those two stand out the most as they add a nice amount of damage to his overall kit. Now onto the B category of kind of strong, but also fun to play. We have Niguang, and the newest 4-star to the game, Yunjin. For Niguang, she can be a great Geo Burst DPS user, but to keep it real, you unlock Noelle earlier on for free, and she outshines Niguang, as she's easier to invest in and easier to play in my opinion. Now for Yunjin, she can really bring a lot to a multi-elemental team, specifically to normal attacks. For constellations, Niguang C2 is great, as when you use her elemental skill, she summons this jade screen that kind of blocks out enemy attacks, and when it gets shattered, the cooldown will be reduced by 6 seconds, making you have it up more frequently, and you can generate more particles, and overall, be a better geo battery. C6 is the second best constellation as it gives you more DPS essentially, but honestly, C6 is kind of hard to obtain if you don't have decent luck and are free to play. Lastly, I personally like the C1 effect of making her normal attacks a small AoE now, as I think it's just fun, but honestly it's not really anything game changing, and the rest of her constellations are okay, but for sure aim for C2 if you can. Now for Yunjin C2 is the best option to go for in terms of early investment, as many players may not be close to her second best upgrade, which is her C6. Her C2 gives additional normal attack bonus damage to the whole team, and C6 gives an attack speed, which is always nice as you can get more hits out, leading into more DPS overall. But on top of that, if you're aiming for C2, the C1 and C2 synergize pretty well, so honestly, the rest are pretty decent, but it's nothing to write home about, so C2 and C6 for Yunjin for sure. Moving straight on to the A tier, this is going to be the strong and can't go wrong if you pick them category. We have Baidu right over here, and as well as Yanfei. I freaking love these two characters. I think they're super fun to play and have some great synergy with team comps, but honestly, they're just super fun to play and can hit like a truck. They are two great main DPS options for the relative elements of Electro and Pyro. If you build either really well, they can easily go into an A+ to S tier rank. For Baidu, she's an amazing, hard-hitting Electro Claymore user with a unique counter ability that is now also shared with Yunjin. This ability is essentially a parry or block counter hit ability, and if you time it right, it can hit back for a lot of damage. Her best constellations are going to be her C2, C5, and C6. More specifically her C2, as it's a little easier to get early on and adds nice additional damage to her burst ability, as the electricity now bounds to 2 additional targets. For Yanfei, she shares a unique stacking mechanic with Niguang that essentially grants stacks for hits, and then you can cast a large, high DPS hit when at full stacks. As for constellations, Yanfei's C1 is a huge boost to her stamina economy and increases resistance to interruption, and in my opinion, this is the best constellation for her, as it's literally the earliest one you can get, and it just makes her entire kit a lot better. C4 is also worth mentioning as it makes her gain a shield when using her burst that's based off 45% of her max HP, which makes her just really nice to play, and on top of that, adds a layer of protection to her entire kit. And the rest are good, but I wouldn't say they're anything game changing, in my opinion. Rounding out the list, we have the S tier, which is the must-pick characters in my opinion, as they are super strong and honestly can fit in a majority of teams, as well as hold their own very well, and those units are going to be Xinchu, as well as Zhongli. Zhongli, as well as Jing. How do you pronounce it? How do you spell this person's name? We'll go something like that. Maybe it doesn't have a G in the middle.
Shangling.
Shangling. Alright, as well as Shangling. That sounds wrong, but we're gonna go with it. For Xinqiu, he brings so much to the table that includes damage mitigation, healing, water application, and high DPS if built right. For constellations, without a doubt in my mind, his C6 is the best one, which just gives you more of his rain cutter swords, which is his burst, and provides more energy, allowing you to cycle this a little more frequently. Also, an amazing upgrade that you can get a little bit earlier on is his C2. This one brings a lot to the kit, as it extends his burst duration and decreases hydro resistance of enemies hit by him by 15%, meaning more DPS for longer amounts of time, and I'm sure you can see the great synergy of his C2 and C6. Everything else for him, however, is a great improvement, but for sure the two that stand out without a doubt are his C2 and his C6. Moving on to Zhongli. I think I nailed the pronunciation there, not sure. This character is great, and is so broken just like Xinqiu, but the cherry on top is that everyone gets her for free by beating 3-1 in the Spiral Abyss. So you already have a leg up, as you might be able to get the C1 right off the bat in this event. For constellations, her C1 is very similar to Xinqiu's C2, as it drops the enemy's pyro resistance by 15%, however this time it's for when you use your skill, not your burst. But for sure, her best upgrades are her C4 followed by her C3. Her C4 makes her burst last longer by 40%, which is always a nice upgrade, and her C3 makes the burst do more damage. There's great synergy there to begin with, but now add that to that C1, if you get a nice rotation in using her skill, then her burst, you now get a lot of damage, reduce the enemy's power resistance, and on top of that, you can swap to a different character to apply other elemental stacks like Xinqiu, Baidu. There's a lot to name, but those are some good ones. So yeah, if you get a good rotation in, quite honestly, you can just fry the enemy team up. You get it? Fry? No? Okay, moving on. Actually, there's nowhere to move on, because that's the end of the tier list. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comments below, and I'll answer as many as I can. And if you want to catch me playing some Genshin, feel free to check out my Twitch. It's linked in the description below, where I stream 2 nights a week. And with that, make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed the content, and I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Thank you again for tuning in, and peace.